Welcome aboard, applicants. I thought we would begin today with the first year law students exam, October 2009, question number 1. Excuse me. With all essay questions, we begin with the call of the question, so let's begin there. 1. Under what theory or theories, if any, might Patty bring an action against Darby? Discuss. 2. What defense or defenses, if any, might Darby assert, and what is the likely result? Discuss. Excuse me. So talking about our call and addressing our call, we want to talk about Patty B. Darby. And number 2, defenses of who now? Darby. Okay. All right, now we don't quite know yet what we're dealing with in terms of area law, but I would strongly say that we're dealing with torts, and if that's the case, let's throw down our shopping list. Intent, negligence, strict liability, products liability, other torts, and third party issues. Okay, let's bring this all to the next page. Thank you so much for your patience. We have another question here, but we'll scoot this to the next page. Okay. Oh, one more. There we go. Thank you so much for your patience. All right, now let's read the question. Darby organized a political rally attended by approximately 1,000 people in support of a candidate challenging the incumbent in the upcoming mayoral election. Sheila, the wife of the challenging candidate, was the main speaker. When Darby introduced Sheila, she described her as a kind woman of the people. Excuse me. In his introduction, he also referred to Patty, the wife of the current mayor, as a snob who is so cutthroat that she said very nasty things about her closest friend when that friend applied for membership to an exclusive private women's club of which Patty's a member. Darby's statements were reported in the print and television media. Darby had heard this information about Patty from a notorious local gossip, and the information was largely false. In fact, when Patty's friend was rejected for club membership, Patty was one of her staunchest supporters in the application process. Darby's statement put a strain on Patty's relationship with her friend, who, upon hearing of Darby's comments, canceled an upcoming lunch she had and Patty had scheduled several weeks before the rally. At the time Darby spoke at the rally, Patty had not been involved publicly in her husband's campaign or political candidates. 2 days after the rally, Patty appeared with her husband in public for the first time when she learned that Sheila was going to speak at the rally. Now, we have a pretty good idea now in terms of a big picture of what's going on. So let's start our issue spotting process. Now, Darby organized a political rally attended by approximately 1,000 people in support of a candidate challenging the incumbent in the upcoming mayoral election. Now, sounds at this point that there's something, maybe defamation I'm leaning in the direction of, but we're not really sure yet. Sheila, the wife of the challenging candidate. So we want to make sure that we have our parties, the background of some of our parties understood, was the wife of the challenging candidate, was the main speaker. Now, when Darby introduced Sheila, he described her as a kind woman of the people. In his introduction, he also referred to Patty, the wife of the current mayor, as a snob who is so cutthroat. So this whole aspect here concerning the comment, we're putting it under our lens now of the defamation claim. So now, the snob who is so cutthroat that she said very nasty things about her closest friend when that friend applied for membership to an exclusive private women's club of which Patty's a member. Darby's statements were reported in the print. So we know reported aspect, we're dealing with communication to a third party. Darby had heard this information about Patty from a notorious gossip, and the information was what? Largely false. Okay. In fact, when Patty's friend was rejected for club membership, Patty was one of her staunchest supporters in the application process. Darby's statement put a strain on Patty's relationship with her friend, who, upon hearing of Darby's comments, canceled an upcoming lunch she had with Patty. So we want to make sure that's an additional aspect too. Just a minute here. Excuse me. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, now, last sentence. Darby's statement put a strain on Patty's relationship with her friend, who, upon hearing of Darby's comments, canceled an upcoming lunch she had with Patty, or upcoming lunch she and Patty had scheduled several weeks before the rally. At the time Darby spoke at the rally, Patty had been involved publicly in her husband's. Been involved publicly in her husband's campaign and other political activities. So this is going to help too when we bring up the constitutional defense as to whether or not we're dealing with a public official or a political figure, or sorry, a private figure. 2 days before the rally, Patty appeared with her husband in public for the first time when she had learned that Sheila was going to speak at the rally. Okay, so also too, there's another aspect here that she appeared with her husband first in public for the first time. This could be argued that she has. Oh, excuse me, just a minute here. Thank you again for your patience. Okay, now back to our discussion here. Let's start breaking out this fact pattern into its elemental parts. Okay. Now down here under defamation, which is what we have. What are the elements of defamation? The first element, that would be false statement. Well, here's the aspect about this. The statement as to a snob who is so cutthroat that she said very nasty things about her closest friend. This actually was a largely false statement. So that the false statement aspect. So we're talking about the false statement made at the rally. Okay. And then was it communicated to a third party? Well, we know up here that it was carried. It was, what was it as to? It was reported in the print and television media. Okay. Also, we want to make sure that it concerns of or concerns the plaintiff. That one is pretty easy here because in the name Patty, though the argument could be made here that Patty hadn't appeared with her husband in public for the first time, but that doesn't really play into this. So we're gonna, the aspect is just that yes, this did pertain, the statement did pertain to Patty. Now the damage aspect here, This is where we're going to bring up libel and slander. Now remember here, we have a libel aspect because of what? This aspect up here, that it was carried in the print. So print, reported in print. So what would actually be presumed already proven here? Absolutely, it would be general damages and special damages. Okay, now slander. Okay, what else? Okay, television media. There you go. We have television media here. And remember, general is presumed proven. Yes, exactly. General damages are presumed. Special damages have to be proven. And that is exactly here. Special damages. Okay, we'll just throw in a. So keep us on the same line here. I'm just gonna need it. Okay, there we go. Now we're gonna come down here. I'm gonna throw in the slander per se because that is the way that we're going to be able to prove the special damages for our slander up here. Now remember, we have the acronym, which we have criminality, we have the unchastity, business, and loathsome disease. What is the aspect here that this most lines up with? It would definitely be business. Because why are we saying this? Because this is, well, see, I would say that this has to do with that doesn't deal with loathsome disease, obviously, and then the other one is no past criminality. So it has to be business. So it's a concerning professional and what is it too that we can back this up with is that she had a lunch date with who? Her closest friend. It depends on whether this lunch date was business related, but it could very well be. It could have been, because remember who Patty is. Yes, exactly. She is the wife. Let's see. Right. Yeah. She is right here. The wife of the current mayor. That's right. May not per se. It's possible. So I'll put a question mark there. Okay, but now I want to make sure to bring up after damages. What about that lunch date aspect? Okay, we're dealing with prospective interference with prospective advantage. And that would be the lost lunch date. Okay. Now remember here under defenses, this is where we're going to be able to slide this in. Darby's defenses. He's going to try to say what? I do. Very good. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. And what else we got there? Absolutely. We've got the invasion, invasion. Actually, no, we're going to have evasion there. We got false light publicity. Yep. There we go. And let's see. Yeah, that would be it there. Excellent job on the IID. Good spot on that. Now the defense that Darby would have would be opinion. And remember too. Oh, I'll make sure I spell that right. Thank you. Make sure the other one is the defense of what? This would be the constitutional defense. Sure, throw that in there. Right, truth. But remember here, there is the defense of truth. Wouldn't apply here as either, because why? Because it's a false statement. Okay, the other thing is opinion, maybe, but the other one is there was no consent that I'm aware of. But remember, constitutional defense, and this is where we're dealing with the New York Times, right? New York Times v. Sullivan. Trying to. Yeah, so this would be actual malice versus negligent publication. Okay. Remember, actual malice deals with public officials. That's a quick little lesson here. Public officials and public figures. Now remember, at the time, has Patty become a public figure? She hasn't actually appeared with her husband yet in public for the first. This is 2 days before the rally, though. So we got to ask ourselves here. Remember, this is the rally. So 2 days before the rally, we see that she has appeared with her husband for the first time. This is what might make it a public figure. That's right. That's right. Gertz v. Welsh. But there is a small argument as to public figure. I'll just underline that. And then there we go. A negligent publication. Yes, that's right. Excellent job. And this would just be for just the negligent publication aspect. Excellent job. Who? Patty. That's right. Remember it was. Remember, actual malice. If it's indicated, you have to prove at the person. How? Okay. How is it negligent published? During the rally. It was not only said, but it was also republished as well. And that's where you could argue here. Also communicated to third parties, possibly the republication. Possibly, I just want to throw it in there just as a question mark there. Okay, now down here, though, we talked about that they recklessly disregarded the truth or falsity, that they knew the aspect, that they knew what they were saying was false, or they recklessly disregarded the truth or falsity of the material they were publishing. That's possible here because of the public figure aspect as to her being in public for the first time. However, like we pointed out here, it's most likely going to be the Gertz v. Welsh negligent publication constitutional defense, which means, what is it? Who is going to have to say this? Darby's going to have to say, or no, yeah, I might have gotten this confused here, because what Darby's going to try to say is that, no, actually that wasn't it. Actually, let me come back up here. This is, I'm going to put a question mark here. Let's see. Now, after defense of opinion and truth, constitutional defense, what else does Darby have as a defense here? I think that's it. Now, the negligent publication is what that's what who and what and how. That's exactly right. See, the constitutional defense is actually a First Amendment defense. So that's what I think I got that one messed up. First Amendment publication. But remember here, it was not technically newsworthy. So what I'm going to have to do is bring this. I'm going to copy and paste this to up above there. Copy up here and paste this over here. Right here. There we go. Okay. And we're saying that the negligent publication will apply here. So that's okay. So going through this again, can you guys see any New York Times v. Sullivan? That's exactly right. Excellent. So looks like we've pretty much gotten through this one. Is there anything that you guys see? I'll come up here to the fact pattern. I can't think of anything else that could be in there. I think that's pretty much it. How would you do IID? Excellent job. Excellent pointing out on that. Now the intentional infliction of emotional distress, we're going to point out, was it intentionally published? And what is it here? We're talking about extreme and out. Remember, actually, it causes severe emotional distress. Extreme outrageous conduct. Up here, real quick. Thank you so much for your patience. Intentionally or recklessly, and that's where this would apply here. Our NIED. She didn't physically manifest her severe emotional distress in any way. That's why you don't see that up here. Where she just, as a result, she didn't lose sleep or anything in terms of a physical manifestation. So I don't see. Okay, so I don't see that. So yeah, exactly. And we're gonna have to say that I think we could probably go with the reckless rather than the intentionally. And the argument is, did she suffer severe emotional distress? I don't know. That's the question mark issue here. And then I think that's pretty good here. If we have to, we'll definitely come back to this and we'll look at this because I wanted to tackle a tougher issue, defamation, being more laborsome in the element area. But now we get to switch gears. We get to go to another question here. We'll go down to the first year law students exam, June 2020, question number 3. As with all of our essay questions, let's begin with the call of the question. Now, with what crimes can Doug reasonably be charged? What defenses, if any, may he reasonably raise? And what is the likely result? Discuss. Very relevant question, June 2020. Let's tackle it. So we got crimes and defenses of Doug. And remember, don't forget to put in State v. Doug on there. That's very good to put in. And I should have put a question mark there. There. Okay. Now coming down because we know what area of law we're dealing with right here, crimes. Just make sure to highlight that. Okay. We're going to throw in our shopping list: murder, structure, theft, crimes against the person, solicitation, conspiracy, attempt, and defenses. Okay, let's come up and read our question now. Doug decided to kill Bob, the owner of a small grocery store, because Bob had twice falsely accused Doug of shoplifting. Doug went into Bob's store and killed Bob by shooting him twice with a handgun. Well, right here we got the crime of murder here. So let's point that out. Murder of Bob, excuse me. After the shooting, Doug noticed the cash register, went over and opened it, and took all the money out of it, or took all of the money out. Yeah. So right there we have the theft of larceny, at least. And then Doug then saw a shopper, Sally, hiding behind store shelves. He pointed the gun at Sally. Ooh, right there. See, that's where I would say we have this aggravated. I might be saying, why is it aggravated? Well, aggravated because of the deadly weapon being present, the gun. There we go. Aggravated assault. And this is where you might even, that deadly weapon doctrine, exactly right. And then that's where we would throw. That's what we're going to put under up here. Excellent job. Burglary. Yeah, you could argue. Yeah. Went into, yes, very good spot on that. Very good spot. Remember, with burglary, do we have a modern law or a common law burglary? It looks to me like we have a modern law burglary, so I'll just highlight that because we're dealing with a protected structure. Yep, modern. Very good. Very good. Okay, now, so Doug then saw a customer, Sally, hiding behind some store shelves, or some shelves. He pointed the gun at Sally, took her purse, tied her hands. Oh, took her purse. There's the other larceny right there. Larceny of the cash, and then now down here after the assault, we have the larceny, Sally's purse. Okay. And tied her hands behind her back. Well, that looks to me, at least at this point, false imprisonment. We're not sure yet of the aspiratation, but I'm just going to throw down kidnapping right now. And there's a small claim here for possibly battery, but I'll throw a question mark there. Very small claim. Robbery, that is a very, very good. Larceny number 2, purse, exactly. Very good. And I would throw in there too that there was a robbery. The robbery, that's an interesting thing. Because of the use of the force that was used to apprehend the purse, I would have to say instead of there being the larceny is a fallback position, but I would definitely say that there's a robbery here. So I'll bring this up here. Okay, remove those two. Okay, there we go. Now, Doug then heard police sirens and ordered Sally at gunpoint out of the store and into his car. There is ordered Sally at gunpoint out of the store and into his car. Right there. We know now that we have the kidnapping, right? Aggravated assault, kidnapping, exactly right. Very good. Now, Officer Fran, who was responding to a report of gunshots at Bob's store, saw Doug speed out of the parking lot in his car. Officer Fran chased him for several blocks until Doug pulled into an empty parking lot. When he got out of his car, Doug fired several shots at Officer Fran. There it is. We have attempted murder of Officer Fran right there. Okay, and who responded by firing her gun at Doug. Now this is going to be really a defense here. I want to make sure to throw in that there's the defense. See, this aspect is going to try to say the self-defense, but there's a problem here. Number one, he's the initial aggressor. Right here, now here, okay, right here. She missed Doug, but one of her bullets went through a window of the car and hit Sally, killing her. So we now have the murder of Sally. And remember, this is different than red line, because red line is when a co-felon is killed during the commission of a felony by a bystander, the victim, or a police officer. So the our criminal defendant here is on the hook for the murder of Sally. Now, as Doug tried to run away, Officer Fran tackled him. Okay. And knocked the gun from his hand. Doug got up and punched Officer Fran. There's, okay, battery of Officer Fran. Okay. And with his fist, Officer Fran then subdued and arrested Doug. Okay. Now, coming down here, we're going to put this on a separate page. So the crimes and defenses of Doug, we have State v. Doug, the murder of Bob. Now let's throw down our murder template here, because this is going to help us too later on. We got actually, this is what makes this one such I'll make sure too that we're running through all of our. Did we see all of our murders in our questions here? Yep. How about all of our structures? That was the burglary. There's the larceny and the robbery, crime against the person, the aggravated assault and battery. There was no solicitation conspiracy. We talked about well, there was a possible attempt, but maybe not. And then there's your defense. Make sure to throw in a conclusion of tail end in here. But here's what we're going to do now. Come up here, and we're going to quickly apply some facts to our issues here after we lay out our template for murder. So we got homicide. This is where we have our year and a day rule. Actual cause. Proximate cause. This is where we have the murder, malice. And this is where our deadly weapon doctrine would go in, establishing intent to kill. Even if the aspect up here you decided to kill Bob wasn't express, we could prove that through implication through the deadly weapon doctrine. Okay. Now after that, we're going to go through our defenses. We talked about justification as the defense here, but there was no justification here. Was there any excuses? No. How about mitigating circumstances? Well, that would be things like heat of passion, imperfect self-defense, or anything involving mistaken justification or coercion, duress. I don't see that, but we probably wouldn't even throw in a voluntary man. We would definitely not forget about throwing involuntary man, though. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. On second thought, here we go. I will throw it in here. I'll explain here in just a minute. And then, there we go. Why am I saying this? Because up here, there may be just a small discussion as to Bob had twice falsely accused him of shoplifting. But remember our acronym RAID here: reasonable provocation, actual provocation, inadequate kind of time to cool off, did not cool off. A reasonable person would have had a time to cool off. So even if he would have been reasonably provoked, or I should say a reasonable person in position would have been provoked, or him being actually provoked, there would have been a time to cool off. That's exactly right. So make sure to throw that in there. And then we have involuntary manslaughter, criminal negligence. And we have up here now the murder of Bob is, make sure to throw them in the correct spot here. The murder of Bob is when Doug went into Bob's store and killed Bob by shooting him twice with a handgun. So Bob's store, killed Bob by shooting him twice, and make sure handgun. Okay. Now, then, did Bob die? Yes, he did. Actual cause. Remember, talked about but for test. But for Doug going into Bob's store and shooting Bob twice with a handgun, Bob would not have died. Excuse me. 2 shots, intent to kill. Yes, very good aspect on that too. I want to make sure to point that out. Yep. Intent to kill. Felony murder rule, and that's where our tie-in for the burglary would come in. Excellent. And then this is where we would have intent to cause serious bodily harm. And then depraved heart murder. Okay. And there we'll put our intent to kill or I should say the deadly weapon for the intent to kill. There we go. Okay. Now, sliding down now, we got burglary. Remember, breaking and entering dwelling house of another at night with the intent. Breaking and entering dwelling house of another at night with the intent to commit a felony therein. Common law, remember, but modern law, it's the breaking and entering the protected structure of another with the intent to commit a crime therein. That's what we have, and that's why that sometimes will walk right by an applicant right up here when you see a crime being done in a building and the party who intended to do that particular crime enters the building. That or the situation where they just enter a building, that could also be a burglary sitch as well. Excuse me. So we're talking about larceny here. The larceny of the cash register, or the cash in the cash register, right up here. He noticed the cash register and went over and opened it and took all the money out of it. That's where we would get our larceny cash. Public store, exactly. Public store, absolutely. Protected structure, exactly. Well, remember though, the argument could be made that the that it was open to the public, right? But the thing about it is, even if it's open to the public, was there still an entry? So that's the aspect. There may not have been trespassers. Yeah, yeah. It's the thing is though, that Doug's store. It doesn't actually say at what time of the business day that Doug entered Bob's store. So I don't know if that's okay. Trespasser taking. Oh yeah, carrying away personal property of another. Yeah, that's right. With larceny, the trespasser taking personal property of another with the intent to permanently deprive the owner thereof. That was definitely present here for the cash. How about the aggravated assault? Well, let's take a look here. Who did the aggravated assault was to who? That was Sally. He pointed the gun at Sally. So that's the first thing we talked about here. He pointed the gun at Sally. And so we want to make sure to point that out in our aggravated assault. And this is the argument could be this is a very possible issue, but still a question mark issue. Possibly attempted murder of Sally, but there's remember I don't think that's yeah, exactly, because of pointing the gun at her. So I'm just gonna put a question mark there. The aggravated assault is definitely there. Again, the larceny number 2, which we were talking about, the purse, which was a fallback position for the robbery, that would be Sally's purse. When this, whenever, also notice this too, that there's commas here. That's a big indicator that the bar examiners are pulling out this sentence in parts too. That he pointed the gun at Sally, comma, took her purse, comma, and tied her hands behind her back. See, that's the aspect. Those were 3 separate things or events tied together in one sentence, but they separated them by those commas, so to help us read into that, into those issues. Now, Doug then, now remember this is now her hands being tied behind her back. That's where there's a small argument here. I would say, where is this here? This is the false imprisonment that actually becomes kidnapping. But the argument could be made too that was the tying of her hands behind her back the actual false imprisonment itself, which then became kidnapping, or was that a battery? I would if it were I would actually tie those facts together underneath kidnapping. Okay. Now then, excuse me. After then, Doug heard the police sirens and ordered Sally at gunpoint. That's where we see the development of the kidnapping itself, out of the store and into his car. There's your asportation, the confinement of Sally's person and the asportation, the movement of that person at gunpoint out of the store and then into Doug's car. Officer Fran, who was responding to a report of gunshots at Bob's store, saw Doug speed out of the parking lot in his car. Supporting facts here. Officer Fran chased him for several blocks until Doug pulled into an empty parking lot. When he got out of his car, Doug fired several shots at Officer Fran. This is the aspect about the attempted murder of Officer Fran right here. So several shots at Officer Fran. And then the argument could be made here when Officer Fran fires back. We talked about this here. She missed. Okay, who responded by firing her gun at Doug. Now that's the aspect he's going to say, possibly a self-defense. Officer Fran at Doug. Okay, now the murder of Sally is what takes place right after that, as a result of the return fire. She missed Doug, but one of her bullets went through a window of the car and hit Sally, killing her. That's the aspect too that we're going to tie in. See that this is a continuing felony. So down here, this murder of Sally is actually the felony murder rule. And that's where up here, that's where these facts up here, these supporting facts that didn't seem like they went anywhere, now those have a home, because those are going to help us indicate that there was still a perpetration of this felony, i.e. the burglary that was taking place, and therefore the homicide of Sally was during that perpetration. That's exactly right. We'll have the self-defense claim, right? But she will. But that's why we have the Doug is the one we're being talked about here. Yeah, exactly. Oh, don't, yeah. That's right though. Officer Fran would have a self-defense claim if there was the defenses would go to Officer Fran. Exactly. And then okay. As Doug tried to run away, Officer Fran tackled him. And in that instance, if this involved Officer Fran, that would be crime prevention. But we're only dealing with Doug here, and knocked the gun from his hand, still indicating that what he was still holding his gun in his hand, which is further evidence too as to the right down here, the attempted murder. So he's still out of that attempted murder. He's still holding that. Still holding the deadly weapon. Now, coming back up here now, though, Doug got up and punched Officer Fran. There's your battery of Officer Fran with his fist. Officer Fran then subdued and arrested Doug. So I think we pretty much have all the facts in the right spot and have spotted all the right issues. Now that the thing to do is to be able to get all this talked about in the time given. This is just an outline of what we like to call is just backboning the whole paper, and then we'll fill it in later on. And then crime prevention, exactly right. That'd be crime prevention for Officer Fran, exactly right. All right, okay. I think this is where I'll put a bookmark for right now. We'll hopefully have another broadcast tomorrow around the same time or so. Actually, wait a minute. Yeah, probably around the same time. Okay, I just want to put a shout out to battling the. I want to put a shout out to Chess Cruncher TV. Keep chess crunching, Chess Cruncher. I also want to put a shout out to my Amazon Kindle book, Battling the Big Bad Baby Bar Essay Basics. Thank you for tuning in.